Nggak, belum ada absennya nih.
Mohon perhatiannya hadirin, baik yang telah bergabung secara offline maupun online. Acara seminar internasional ini akan segera kami mulai. Om Swastiastu. His Excellency Rector of Udayana University, in this occasion represented by Dean of Faculty of Law Udayana University, Profesor Dr. Putu Gede Arya Sumertayase SHM Hum, the Honorable all Vice Deans at the Faculty of Law Udayana University, all coordinators of study programs at Faculty of Law Udayana University, committee chairman, all members of International Partnership Institution-Based Research or INSPIRE, our invited speakers, Professor Tim Lindsay, BA, LLB, B.Lit, PhD from Melbourne Law School. Bapak Andi Omara, SH, MPub and International Law, PhD, Faculty of Law, Gajah Mada University. Bapak Dr. Dewa Gede Palguna, SHM Hum from Faculty of Law, Udayana University. Bapak Nyoman Satya Yuda Dananjaya, SHMKN, PhD from Faculty of Law, Udayana University. And Bapak I Gusti Ngurah Parikesit Widya Teja, SHM Hum LLM, PhD from Faculty of Law, Udayana University. Our moderator for today, Ibu Dr. Nigusti Ayudiah Satyawati, SH, MKN, LLM. All speakers in panelization, representatives from Bali Provincial Government, Badung Regency Government, and from the Mayor Office of Denpasar City, as well as all participants, ladies and gentlemen. Praise and gratitude to God Almighty because of His blessings and grace we can all gather on today, Tuesday, 25 June 2024 at the ballroom of Pramasanur Beach Hotel, Bali, for the opening of the International Seminar on Strengthening the Rule of Law, Challenges and Prospects in Post-Jokowi Indonesia, jointly organized by the International Partnership Institution-Based Research or INSPIRE, Udayana University, and Faculty of Law, Udayana University. Before we enter into our main agenda for today, we would like to welcome you in this beautiful day with a performance of Sekar Jagat Dance. The movements in Sekar Jagat Dance symbolize peace in the universe or Jagat, represented by the beauty of flowers or Sekar. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now please welcome Sekar Jagat Dance. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the performance of Sekar Jagat Dance. Now we would like to invite all audience to sing the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. Therefore, we would like to invite the committee to please come to the stage. Thank you. to all audience to please remain stand up as we are going to continue our agenda with prayer. Therefore, we would like to invite all audience to pray according your respective beliefs. The prayer is started. The prayer is finished. For the audience, you may please be seated again. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished guest participants, ladies and gentlemen, as for our first agenda, please warmly welcome the committee chairman of this event, to Ibu Dr. Made Suksma Prijandini Devisalain SHMH LLM to deliver her report for this international seminar. To Ibu Dr. Suksma, the time and place are yours. Thank you.
Om Swastiastu, good morning. Your Excellency, the Rector of Udayana University, Professor Insinyur Ngakan Putu Gede Swardana, MT PhD IPU, in this occasion is represented by the Dean of the Faculty of Law Udayana University, Professor Dr. Putu Gede Arya Sumarkayasa, SH M.Hum, the first Vice Dean of Academic Planning and Cooperation, Dr. Igusti Agung Masro Jayantiari SH MKN, the second Vice Dean of General and Financial Affairs Nyoman Satyayuda Dananjaya SH MKN PhD, the third Vice Dean of Student and Information Dr. Inyuman Bagiastra SH MH, the Deans of Faculty of Law Warmadewa, Undiknas, Undiksa, Dwijendra Ngurah Rai, Mahendra Data University or their representatives, Bali Provincial Government Legal Bureau, Denpasar City and Badung Regency Legal Department, the heads of labs, unit coordinators, lecturer, moderator, the committee, seminar participant, which is joined offline and online, and all students. Praise to the God Almighty, as for His grace today, we all can attend the international seminar, Strengthening the Rule of Law, Challenges and Prospect in Post-Jokowi Indonesia, which is organized by the Faculty of Law Udayana University in hybrid, offline and online. This topic is fascinating because the succession of national leadership will be conducted in the following months. There are several speakers in this international seminar. The first one is Professor Tim Lindsay, BA, LLB, B.Lit, PhD. He is lecturer of the University of Melbourne Law School, Australia. Thank you, Professor, for taking the time being the speaker at this seminar. Of course, we are delighted and excited to gain knowledge the rule of law. Hopefully, this international seminar could continue in the form of Tridharma Higher Education Cooperation with Professor and the University of Melbourne Law School, Australia. The next speaker is a lecturer in constitutional law at the Faculty of Law, Gajah Mada University, which is joined online. Bapak Andi Omara SH MPAP and International Law PhD. Thank you, Bapak. The next three speakers are lecturer at the Faculty of Law Udayana University. The first is Dr. Dewa Palguna SH M.Hum and Igusti Ngurah Parikesit Widyateja SH M.Hum LLM PhD are from International Law Department, while Bapak Nyoman Satyayuda Dananjaya SH MKN PhD is from Procedural Law Department. This seminar is attended by various parties. They are lecturer of the Faculty of Law Udayana University and also other lecturer representing other universities, students, Bali Provincial Government Legal Bureau, Denpasar City and Badung Regency Legal Department, and several Go Bali foreign students. The total of offline participants are 50 people and the online participants is between 100. On this occasion, please allow us to thank all parties who support to make this seminar possible. We also apologize if there are any shortcomings during this seminar. Finally, to the speaker, participant, the committee, we would like to congratulate you on attending and conducting this seminar. Hopefully, this international seminar can provide benefit for all of us. And for the next agenda, please welcome the Dean of the Faculty of Law Udayana University to deliver his speech opening. Thank you. Om Santi 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 Om.
Thank you, Ibu Dr. Suksma. Ladies and gentlemen, for our next agenda, now please warmly welcome the Rector of Udayana University. In this occasion is represented by the Dean of the Faculty of Law Udayana University, Professor Dr. Putu Gede Arya Sumertayase SHM Hum, to deliver his welcome remarks that also will officially open this international seminar. To our Dean, Prof. Arya, time and place are yours. Thank you.
Om Swastiastu. Your Excellencies, invited speaker Professor Tim Tensi, PhD from Melbourne Law School, Andi Omara, PhD from Gajah Mada University, Dr. Dewa Gede Palguna, Nyoman Surya Satyayuda Dananjaya, PhD, and Gusti Ngurah Parikesit Widya Teja, PhD. Bali Province Government, Legal Bureau, Denpasar City Government, Legal Department, Badung Regency Government, Legal Department, and participants online. Good morning. The rector assigned me to deliver a speech at the seminar. Therefore, I'm honored to be here with all distinguished legal scholars. Ladies and gentlemen, the section of national leadership will be conducted in the following months. Prabowo Subianto and Gibran Rakabumi Raka will replace President Joko Widodo and Vice President Maruf Amin. Academics and political state observers have expressed their analysis regarding the subsequent policy direction of the national leadership, including the feasibility of continuing the current government strategy programs. The picture of the role of law in Indonesia is one of the most hotly debated issues. The term role of law is understood in various ways. One definition is negara hukum, implying that state administration must be grounded in law, not solely on power. The understanding underscores the urgency of strengthening the role of law in our nation. Udayana University recognizes the importance of implementing the concept of rule of law. In line with this, the Universitas has taken practice steps engaging in collaborative activities with various institutions with authority related to the rule of law. This includes the Supreme Court, the Constitutional Court, the Prosecutor's Office, and Coordination Ministry for Political Law and Security, the Ministry of Law and Human Rights, and the Ombudsman. This collective effort underscores the shared responsibility in upholding the role of law in our society. The Faculty of Law in particular is academic, may play a role in supporting the role of law in various means. Among others, publishing academic papers to raise public awareness, sharing academics, use in the legislative drafting process, and submitting legal opinions of becoming an expert witness before a court when settling a case law. We hope the seminar can increase participant insight into the role of law in the context of national leadership succession in Indonesia. Finally, I officially open the International on strengthening the role of law, talents, and prospects in post-Jokowi Indonesia. Dean of University Udayana, Profesor Insinyur Ngakan Putu Gede Suardana, MT, PhD, IPU. Thank you.
Well, Excellency, distinguished guest participant, ladies and gentlemen, that was the opening ceremony. Bapak Dekan, mohon berkenan untuk tetap di panggung. We would like to invite our Dean, Vice Deans, Committee Chairman, Head of Inspire Team, as well as all coordinator study program at Faculty of Law, invited speakers, and then also moderator to please join us at the stage for the photo session. Thank you. Kami mohon perhatiannya kepada seluruh wakil dekan, koordinator program studi di Fakultas Hukum Udayana, serta invited speakers, moderator untuk berkenan join di atas panggung untuk sesi foto bersama. Terima kasih. Kepada Prof. Dewi, kami mohon perkenannya juga untuk dapat join di atas panggung. Terima kasih, Prof. Baik, kepada panitia kami mohon untuk bersiap-siap mengambil foto. Agak digeser ke sebelah kiri sedikit, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. Baik. Oke. Saya akan mengambil hitungan. 1, 2, 3. Ya, another pose, please. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now, okay, another pose directed by Pak Yuda, please. Okay. Well, now 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. Sekarang adalah sesi foto bersama dengan para hadirin sekalian. Kepada Bapak Ibu dimohon untuk berkenan join bersama kami di bawah untuk pemotoan dari atas oleh panitia. Ladies and gentlemen, you may all please be stand up because we are going to take a photo. To all committee, please stand by at the stage. All committee, you may also join the photo session. Kepada para panitia yang masih berada di sisi pinggir ruangan, dimohon untuk join juga di tengah ruangan karena kita akan mengambil foto bersama. Terima kasih. Baik, for the first pose is a formal pose. Yeah, I will count 1, 2, 3. For the second pose is pose dari Pak Yuda tadi dengan tangan kanan menyilang. 1, 2, 3. And another pose is for the video. Akan membuat video dengan tangan menyilang dengan bersorak Fakultas Hukum. Ya, saya akan memberikan mic kepada Bapak Dekan. Oh, tidak? Oke, oleh saya saja, baik. Well, Bapak Ibu yang berada di panggung, yang mengambil gambar, mohon untuk bersiap karena kami akan membuat video. Oke, saya akan berteriak. Tangan diposisikan dulu. Ya. 1, 2, 3. FH Unut Jaya Jaya Jaya, begitu ya. Kita bersorak bersama-sama ya. 1, 2, 3. FH Unut Jaya Jaya Jaya. Well, thank you. To audience, you may all be seated again. Thank you. Kepada panitia, mohon dipersiapkan untuk mejanya karena acara akan segera dilanjutkan dengan sesi invited speakers. Bapak Ibu, kami mohon untuk menunggu sebentar karena panggung akan disetting untuk acara pada invited speakers. Terima kasih. Kepada para hadirin yang telah join bersama kami secara offline, sembari menunggu dipersilahkan jika ingin coffee break terlebih dahulu, mungkin mengambil kopi ataupun kudapan sebelum acara akan kita mulai. Kepada hadirin yang telah bergabung secara online, kami izin informasikan bahwasanya acara sebentar lagi akan kita mulai. Mohon perkenannya untuk menunggu sembari kami melakukan setting panggung untuk sesi invited speakers. Terima kasih. Kepada para peserta offline, kami mohon perhatiannya untuk coffee break jika sudah selesai diambil, boleh dinikmati di dalam ruangan sembari kita mengikuti sesi invited speakers. Sekali lagi perhatian kepada para hadirin yang masih berada di luar ruangan dan mengambil coffee break. Kami persilahkan untuk menikmati hidangan coffee break-nya di dalam ruangan sembari kita mengikuti acara bersama para invited speakers. Terima kasih. Baik Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian, baik yang telah join bersama kami secara online maupun join bersama kami secara offline, acara akan kita mulai. Kepada Bapak Ibu yang masih berada di luar ruangan, kami mohon untuk segera menempati kursi yang telah disediakan karena acara akan dimulai. Terima kasih. Excellency, distinguished guest participants, ladies and gentlemen, finally we arrive at our first agenda in today's international seminar. We would like to inform that the presentation of our invited speakers in this session is going to be facilitated by Ibu Dr. Nigusti Ayu Diah Satyawati, SHMKN LLM. Ibu Dr. Ayu is a lecturer at the Administrative Law Department at the Faculty of Law Udayana University. She is also the head of Legislation Drafting Center at the Faculty of Law Udayana University. She obtained her bachelor and doctoral degree from the Faculty of Law Udayana University, while for her master's degree from the Magister of Notary Program, Universitas Gadjah Mada, and LLM from the Faculty of Law, Maastricht University, the Netherlands. Without further ado, we would like to invite Ibu Dr. Ayu to the stage. To Ibu Dr. Ayu, time and place are yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our beautiful Master of Ceremony, Ibu Ara Samsritawati. Good morning, everybody. It's an honor for me to facilitate these sessions. Before that, I think I will directly invite our speaker to sit here with me. Otherwise, I'm going to be alone here. So I would like kindly invite all the speakers to come and join me at the stage. Professor Lantai, Bapak Dr. Palguna, Bapak Parikesit PhD, and also Bapak Satya Yuda Danajaya PhD. Professor Lantai, you can sit here. And Bapak Palguna, would you please to sit here, and Bapak Parikesit here? Yeah, and Bapak Satya Yuda. Okay. Okay. It's a very quiet. I hope everybody is already ready to start this seminar. Okay, so Om Swastiastu, His Excellency the Dean of the Faculty of Law, Udayana University, Professor Putu Gede Arya Sumertayasa SHM Hum, also the Honorable Vice Deans at the Faculty of Law, Udayana University, all the professors who are attending the seminars, the speakers, the honorable speakers, and of course all the participants that joined this seminar today at the Prama Sandur here, and also I will say hello also for the participant who join us online through the WebEx platforms. I do feel so honored to facilitate these sessions because we have here 5 outstanding speakers. Bapak Andi Omara will join us through online, so he's not here right now, but later he will deliver his presentations online. So this seminar is try to deliver the theme strengthening the rule of law, the challenges and the prospect in the post-Jokowi era in Indonesia. Honestly, this seminar started with the urgent questions raised by Bapak Parikesit and discussed by all the committee at the faculty that can we strengthen the rule of law or will we succumb to the political expedience? So that's the questions. Then we decided to conduct this seminar. I think all our 5 speakers will discuss these issues more deep and we can gather various point of view. So without further ado, and before we start these sessions, please allow me to introduce our extraordinary 5 speakers, even though I am already sure that maybe all of the audience here already know them because they already have a big names in their respective fields. May I start with our first speaker, Professor Tim Lindsay. So, Professor Tim Lindsay is one of the Australian leading experts on the Indonesian law and has advised the government, the business sectors, international organizations, court, and legal practitioners in Indonesia and also in Australia. He is a Malcolm Smith Professor of Asian Law, Redmond Barry Distinguished Professor and the Director of Center for Indonesian Law, Islam and Society at the Melbourne Law School. He's a Bachelor of Laws, Bachelor of Arts, and Bachelor of Letters. It's quite a lot of fields that you study, professors, from the University of Melbourne, and completed his PhD thesis in Indonesia Studies, a specialist in wide range of aspects of Indonesian law, including public law, criminal law, commercial law, and family law. Professor also teaches and research in Sharia or Islamic law in Indonesia and Southeast Asia. He won National and University Teaching Award and was an ERC Federation's Fellow from 2006 until 2011. And also Professor, also a member of the Victorian Bar and was the long-serving chair of the Australia-Indonesia Institute until 2016. He has more than 100 publications that almost impossible for me to read all, each one by one. And he also known as a founder, as an executive editor of the Australian Journal of Asian Law. So to give big applause and let me, for Professor Lindsay, I will read the CV for our second speakers, and then I will deliver the time for all the speakers to present. Our second speaker will be Bapak Dr. Dewa Gede Palguna SHM. He is, of course, very well known when we discuss about the constitutional law. He completed his bachelor law degree at the Faculty of Law, Udayana University, his master at Pajajaran University, and obtained his doctoral degree at the Faculty of Law, Universitas, Indonesia. He has served as a judge of the Constitutional Court of the Republic of Indonesia for 2 terms, Bapak. 2003, 2008, and 2015 and 2022. And since January 2024, he served as the chairman of the Honorary Councils of the Constitutional Court. And currently, he is the chairman of the Senate at the Faculty of Law, Udayana University. He also writing since long time ago, since he was a student, and still actively writing until now. He published many articles in national and international journals and presented many papers in various and also national and international forums. Currently, apart from teaching at Udayana University, he also often asked to act an external examiner and co-promoter for doctoral program students at several universities outside Bali. Then we will have our third speaker, Bapak Igusti Ngurah. I'm sorry, our third speaker gonna be Bapak Nyoman Satyayuda Dananjaya, and Bapak Dananjaya now he is current our Vice Dean for the Financial Affairs and Human Resources Affair. He completed his bachelor degree at Udayana University. He is Master of Notary at Gajah Mada University and completed the doctoral degree in Asian Law courses at Yamaguchi University in Japan. And then we will have our fourth speaker, Bapak Igusti Ngurah Parikesit Widya Teja. He's now as a lecturer at Udayana University the head of International Law Department in our faculty. He attained his bachelor degree from Brawijaya University and then also have his LLM in global business law from the School of Law at the University of Washington. And then for his PhD, he obtained it from the University of Melbourne in 2022. And he also very active to writing and publish academic paper at the national or international journal. So he also has like 27 intellectual property certificates for acknowledgements in intellectual property rights. And the last but not least, I would like to introduce Bapak Andi Omara, who will join us online. Bapak Andi Omara, SHM Master Public and International Law PhD, is a lecturer at the Faculty of Law Gajah Mada University, who has an area of expertise in constitutional law, and he completed his Bachelor of Law at Gajah Mada University, while the master degree he got from the University of Melbourne. And then he received a Doctor of Philosophy degree from the University of Washington School of Law in 2017. So after I read all the CV of the speaker, that you now realize that how grateful we are that we will have this seminar with all those 5 outstanding speakers. So would you give a big applause to all our speakers, and then we will start our first presentation from Professor Tim Lindsay. It's approximately 30 minutes from professors. Time is yours.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Bapak-Bapak, Ibu-Ibu. Sebelumnya saya mau mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Bapak Dekan Fakultas Hukum UNUD atas kesempatan ini untuk menyampaikan hasil penelitian saya dalam suasana standar yang begitu enak dibandingkan dengan musim dingin di Australia. Terima kasih, dan juga saya mau mengucapkan hello to my former students, Dr. Parikesit and Dr. Andi Omara. It's good to be with our graduates. So thank you very much. Today I've been asked to talk about the rule of law after Jokowi, and I am going to focus on challenges. This is because dramatic legal and political changes may be coming after President-elect Prabowo Subianto is sworn in on 20 October. New slide. Soon after he was elected, Prabowo said that, quote, democracy is really very, very tiring. Democracy is very, very messy and costly, unquote. And if you go to the website of Prabowo's political party, Gerindra, you will see there a mission and vision statement, misi dan visi. And the mission statement number 1 is a return to the Constitution of 1945 as stipulated on 18 August 1945. So you can see it on the screen. Mempertahankan kedaulatan dan tegaknya Negara Kesatuan Republik Indonesia yang berdasarkan Pancasila dan Undang-Undang Dasar 45 yang ditetapkan pada tanggal 18 Agustus. Now, given Prabowo's statement and Gerindra's clearly stated principal mission, it is understandable that many Indonesians fear that Prabowo aims to end post-Suharto Indonesian democracy by returning to the original 1945 constitution once he is in office. Now, if this happened, returning to the original manuscript of the 1945 constitution would mean undoing most of the liberal democratic Reformasi era reforms introduced after the fall of Suharto. It would reverse the constitutional changes that transformed Indonesia from a repressive military-backed authoritarian regime to an emerging liberal democracy that implemented separation of powers, independence of the judiciary, press freedom, and actively sought to combat the unchecked and institutionalized corruption under Suharto's new order. But actually, the threat to Indonesian democracy may be more immediate. It may come much sooner. It is possible that by the time Prabowo is sworn in, much of Indonesia's Reformasi democracy may already be severely damaged. And the journey back to the original 1945 constitution, and thus the legal system of the new order, from which Prabowo, of course, emerged, that this process may already be well advanced before he is sworn in. And this is because dislike of reformer-era democracy is not unique to Prabowo and Gerindra. Dislike of democracy is shared by many politicians from many political parties and many of Indonesia's current leaders. To explain, I want to discuss just 4 key elements, unsur utama, that formed part of the system of the Orde Baru. There are many elements, of course, that made up the new order, but there are 4 that I want to focus on. The first one is military domination of civilian life. The second is lack of judicial independence. The third is absence of press freedom. And the fourth is unchecked elite corruption. What I will now do is explain to you how all of these may be re-institutionalized by legal changes that could happen even before Jokowi leaves office, or if not, then very soon afterwards. And if that does happen, then even when Prabowo takes office, his first term would already be on the way to emerging as a new order, an Orde Baru. Orbaba. So, new slide, please. Let me now go through these elements. The first one is the military domination of civilian life. And this was, as you know, a key feature of the Orba. And as everybody knows, the government is once again revising the Undang-Undang TNI. The current draft of the bill suggests the government will amend 2 pasal in the law. The first will allow civilian posts to be occupied by serving military members, and the other amendment will increase the military retirement age. The draft pasal expanding the number of civilian posts that can be occupied by serving military remains very vague, not clear. It does not define clearly what positions can be filled by active TNI personnel. But wide authority is given to the president to make that decision, which means there may be almost no limits on how many TNI and into what positions they can be put in the civil service. Now, if this happens, that will actually complement amendments made to the Undang-Undang ASN, the Aparatur Sipil Negara, which was passed in October last year. Pasal 19 of that law already allows active members of the army and the police to take civilian positions. So this can already happen, and if the TNI law is amended, it will just confirm it and give wide authority to the president to do it. Together, these amendments to both these laws, the Undang-Undang TNI and the Undang-Undang ASN, are major step backwards towards the new order Sistem Dui Fungsi, whereby the military penetrated and dominated civil governance. These amendments could reopen the doors of the barracks and invite soldiers back out into civilian life. In addition, the proposed TNI amendments will also allow the government to extend the retirement age of TNI personnel to 60 for officers and 58 for other soldiers. It may allow some TNI officers to serve until they are 65, and will also allow the TNI Commander and Chief of Staff to have their time in office extended much longer. Now, the government has justified these changes by saying that the retirement age for TNI should be the same as the retirement age of police. It also says the current retirement age is too low and inefficient use of skilled soldiers. But actually, there is already an oversupply, too many middle and high-ranking officers in TNI. Bad management has led to too many senior TNI personnel who have no job, have no functional role. Increasing the retirement age will only make these problems worse. There will be more and more top officers in TNI. And these, of course, are the officers who would be allocated senior posts, civilian posts, to keep them busy. The excess number of senior officers would just geser across to become civil servants. This overload of senior officers in TNI has been dealt with in different ways, including by adding new military regional commands. There are now 37 Kodam in Indonesia when there were 15 previously. That gives a role to these senior officers. That's more than double. And almost every province now has a Kodam, like in the old days. Now, this will probably win strong military support for the government, but if you see it in conjunction with the return of Dui Fungsi as a legally authorized system, it is a creeping step backwards towards reinstituting the territorial system of the new order by which the army shadowed the civil administration right across Indonesia, central and regional. Under Suharto, the territorial system combined with embedding military personnel and government institutions, helped Suharto's regime keep control and suppress criticism. In other words, if the TNI, the Undang-Undang TNI amendment goes ahead, the first element of Suharto's new order will start coming back. The military as partners in power with the ruling regime and embedded in civilian governance again. New slide. The second element is the erosion of judicial independence. Now, the Undang-Undang MK is one of the most amended laws in Indonesia. Politicians can't stop messing with the MK because they see it as one of the only institutions that can check and balance their sweeping power. And I pay my respects to Bapak Palguna as one of the judges who exercised that power of checking and balancing government in a democratic tradition. The last set of amendments to the Undang-Undang MK in 2020 extended judicial terms and was criticised as gifts by the government to ensure judicial loyalty in the face of challenges to Jokowi administration policy initiatives coming, such as the Omnibus Law, amendments to the KPK law to weaken the KPK, and of course the controversial KUHP, which among other problems reinstated prohibitions on criticising the government that the MK had previously disallowed and cancelled. The proposed amendments, the latest amendments to the Undang-Undang MK, look like an attempt to weaken the court at a time when public faith in it is low, damaged by recent decisions such as Putusan 90, which have favoured the government. Since the MK was established, the President, the DPR, and the Mahkamah Agung have been able to nominate 3 judges each. Under earlier versions of the Undang-Undang MK, judges could serve 2 5-year terms. The nominating institutions could reappoint their judges for a second 5-year term after the first 5-year term, or they could refuse to do that and effectively sack them. And some judges were not reappointed, including Mantan Hakim Ketua Hamdan Zulfa. In 2020, judicial terms were abolished and the tenure of judges was increased to 15 years. Now, the new amendments reintroduce the 5-year terms. And like the original system, after the first 5-year terms, the nominating institutions can refuse to give approval to continue in office. In other words, they can sack the judge. This also means that existing judges on the court now, who have served for more than 5 years, could also be removed. This has 2 very bad consequences. It means that judges who dissent, who disagree with government policy, could be removed. And I think the government would likely target Bapak Sali Isra, who is a highly respected independent judge. The second consequence is that judges who remain have a strong reason to approve bad laws to keep their jobs, because the nominating institutions will once again easily be able to remove them, even more easily than with former Justice Aswanto. So if these amendments passed, a second element of Suharto's new order system will be back in place. Lack of true judicial independence, and therefore no effective check on the constitutionalism of laws that are passed. I hope that doesn't happen, but we have to acknowledge it's a possibility. My third element to discuss is restricting press freedom. The proposed new broadcasting law appears likely to severely limit the scope for the media to perform its important role of holding the government accountable. Now, as I said, the KUHP already prohibits criticism of government when it comes into force in a year or 2. But this proposed new law goes further. The bill for the broadcasting law will ban exclusive broadcasting of investigative journalism content. And that means that while journalists can continue to produce investigative reports in print, broadcasters cannot broadcast them, and broadcasters cannot produce their own investigations. This is a serious restriction on press freedom because most Indonesians don't read newspapers. They get their news through broadcasters, television, radio, and online. So this new ban would probably violate constitutional rights to access information and constitutional rights to freedom of expression. But if the government controls the MK as a result of the amendments to the Undang-Undang MK, then the MK may not strike down the broadcasting law. And that means there's nothing anyone can do. No more investigative journalism. No more reporting on government scandals. No more truth. A third element of Suharto's new order will be back in place, a lack of press freedom, and thus the absence of government transparency and accountability. Fourth, enabling corruption. In May this year, the KPK began prosecuting former Supreme Court Judge Hakim M. A. Ghazal Basaleh for taking a bribe. Saleh's lawyers lodged an excepsi saying the KPK did not have power to prosecute him because the power to prosecute is with the Kejaksaan, not the KPK. The Kejaksaan could delegate power to the KPK, but it had not done so in this case, and therefore the KPK prosecution had no legal basis. Now, this is an argument that has been used before in excepsi in other cases and was always rejected by the courts. The courts relied on Pasal 51 in Undang-Undang KPK, and that says that KPK prosecutors who are appointed and dismissed by the KPK are able to exercise prosecutorial functions in corruption cases. That seems pretty clear as a basis of authority. But in this case, in Saleh's case, the Central Jakarta District Court accepted the excepsi and freed him, saying KPK prosecutors have no authority because they had not received a delegation to prosecute from the Jaksa Agung. And the court relied on Pasal 35 ayat 1 of the Undang-Undang Kejaksaan, which was inserted as an amendment in 2021. And the elucidation to that provision you can see on the screen. It says there is a single prosecution system and that the Attorney General is the sole holder of prosecutorial authority. The task and authority of the public prosecution in criminal cases is determined by taking into account the single prosecution system, the delegation of prosecutorial authority from the Jaksa Agung to public prosecutors must accord with the policy of law enforcement stipulated by the Jaksa Agung as sole holder of prosecutorial authority. And this means that to prosecute in criminal cases, officials, including Jaksa, whether in the Kejaksaan or the KPK, must receive a delegation of power from the Attorney General, the Jaksa Agung. Without that, the prosecution is illegal. Now, the KPK will certainly appeal this decision, but if it fails, then the KPK's future is in the hands of the Jaksa Agung. The KPK will be in the hands of the Jaksa Agung. And I think the appeal might fail because it will be decided in the end by the Mahkamah Agung, which is Saleh's own court. If that happens, then that may finally mean the end of the KPK as a corruption force, an anti-corruption force in Indonesia. Let's remember that the reason the KPK was established as an independent institution in the first place was to keep it safe from corrupt practices of Jaksa and the Mafia Peradilan. If now the KPK is underneath the Kejaksaan, then that aim is defeated. So, to conclude my presentation, there are 4 changes that may happen very soon. 3 of them are legislative changes in the hands of the DPR. And one of them is a legislative change that has already happened, which is now being interpreted by the judiciary and probably by the Mahkamah Agung. If all 4 of these regressive changes go ahead, then 4 key elements of the new order system will be reinstated in Indonesia. And that means Indonesia will have already performed a dramatic U-turn back towards the authoritarian systems that emerged under the original 1945 constitution during the rule of Suharto. But all this will have happened under Jokowi, even before Prabowo is sworn in as president. It will have happened now before Prabowo is sworn in. And that means that effectively the new order system, or much of it, will already be in place when Prabowo is sworn in, without any need to amend the constitution at all. And no need to return to the 1945 constitution because the new order system is largely back in place. With that sort of profound undermining of the democratic system, all that will be needed to complete the end of reformasi will be the end of direct presidential elections and the 2-term limit. That would require a major constitutional amendment. But by then, liberal democracy may be so weak it might be hard to stop it happening. So they're the challenges that I identify, but they are not post-Jokowi challenges, they are challenges right now, that would be in place and would make a return to the 1945 constitution not even necessary to have the authoritarian system back in place. Let us hope that these changes do not take place and that liberal democracy remains strong. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Professor Lindsay. It's a really insight that shocking or not shocking. I mean, like, we have to realize right now, just like you mentioned, the threat is not will, but now, if I can say. Jadi luar biasa sekali penyampaian dari beliau terkait dengan rule of law after Jokowi. Professor already gave a point of view that's very, I think, important for us to together think and take into considerations about this situation that maybe will happen or is already happened before we notice. Just like Professor mentions, to remind us about the 4 key elements of Orde Baru that maybe will be soon happen again here, or Baba. I like your affirmations. It's like Orde Baru. So Professor mentions the Baba with the 4 key elements: the military dominations of civilian life, the lack of judicial independence, the absence of press freedom, and also the unchecked elite corruption. So I think the audience here come from a different background. There are like start from the students of law, and then we have the academicians, and also from the government. So I think we have a very important point to be discussed together and to have a brighter futures, is because the situations will be happen in our home, our country, our land, or we can just call it in one name, Indonesia. Hopefully that all the point delivered from Professor Lindsay will be a very important homework for us to think and discuss in a later occasions. Thank you very much, Professor Lindsay. And then I will deliver the opportunity to Bapak Dr. Dewo Palguna to, yes, please, to deliver the presentations. Time is yours.
Well, thank you, Ayu. Ladies and gentlemen, actually my presentation is already it's already deliberated by Professor Lindsay, but it's fine. But I would like to emphasize that the draft revision of the law on constitutional court I should say it is a real threat to the judicial independence, especially the Constitutional Court of the Republic of Indonesia. As we know that the independence of the judiciary is an essential part, one of essential parts of rule of law. So when the independence of the judiciary is in a real threat, so what we can hope with our rule of law of Indonesia. That is the point of my presentation. But let me take you to a kind of journey to the past. What is the Constitutional Court of Indonesia was designed for? You know, when we know that the court, the Constitutional Court of Indonesia, was established in 2003 as an integral part of the amendment of the Constitution of the country, the Constitution of 1945, which is designed to safeguard the Constitution. That's why it's called the guardian of the Constitution, the guardians of the constitutional democratic states of Indonesia. That's why it is equipped with powers to adjudicate cases of constitutional review of law, of dispute about the conflict of authorities among state institutions whose authorities are given by the Constitution, cases of dissolution of political party, and to settle of dispute concerning the result of general elections, as we have seen just a few weeks ago. I think it would not exaggerating to say that during the past 10 years of the existence of the court, it is the golden years of the court. Many of the court's decisions was and still regarded as landmark decisions. For instance, the decision on what does it mean by control by the state, dikuasai oleh negara. Even since the very beginning of its existence, when the court adjudicating the constitutional review on law on electricity, it is already the court already given its stance and its constitutional interpretation about the issue on dikuasai oleh negara. So up to this very day, the court decision, the interpretation of the court, it's still held as the right interpretation to be held by all state institutions, at least in theory. At least in theory. But as we know, the charisma of the court began to decline when in 2014, in 2008, it is sad to say, when not least then its Chief Justice, Akil Mokhtar, was arrested by the Corruption Eradication Commission for a series of crimes ranging from bribery, gratification, and even money laundering in connection with cases on the Pilkada, result of Pilkada, the local elections, offering no less than 9 local elections. What a shame. Yeah. And the public was so shocked in the world, disbelief with the huge embarrassing scandal. And he was finally for life in jail, and now he serves his sentence. In 2017, when Justice Patrialis Akbar was also arrested by the Corruption Eradication Commission for crime implicated with cases in connection with the cases on the constitutional review of law on on husbandry and animal health. Those two notorious scandals had not only marked the decline of public trust to the court, but had also undermined the court's dignity and the court's charisma. And the general public begins to see that the institutions, which one was glorified as one among the icons of reform movement, triumph, is no longer immune from outside encroachments. Yeah, I'm sorry to say that words. Yeah, that's the decline of our court. And then the court tried to regain its public trust. And to some extent, it was successful, but it's not last long. Because now it's turned from now it's the external turn to give a blow to the court. When in 2022, out of the blue, the House of Representatives, without proper procedure and a blatant arbitrariness, suddenly expelled Justice Aswanto from office and appointed Professor Guntur Hamzah, an administrative professor, and then the court secretary general at the time to replace Justice Aswanto. And what is the reason behind the expel of Justice Aswanto? Bambang Wuryanto, well known as Bambang Pacul, the chairman of Commission 3 of the House, said, amid the harsh criticism and even censors, he explained that the move was taken because Aswanto's performance was unsatisfying the boss. Who is the boss? It's the House of Representatives. It's so ridiculous to me. Yeah, that's why I criticized a lot through the media, and I wrote a kind of article in Media Indonesia and Tempo, Koran Tempo Daily. But I don't know, maybe just like shouting in the desert. Yeah. And we know the later development. What happened to Justice Guntur Hamzah is, he was complained by a young lawyer. Unfortunately, it was our former student here at Udayana University, Siko Simanduntak, with accusation of committing ethical misconduct for inappropriately changing a phrase in the sentence of the court decision in the ratio decidendi of the court's decision in 2002. And what is the consequence of the changing? The sentence meaning also changed with such an action. And then an ad hoc honorary council was founded to deal with the complaint, and Justice Hamzah was finally given a written reprimand by the ad hoc honorary council chaired by me. It was, I'm so sad to say these events, but it is a fact. We should take a lesson from our past bad mistake. Now, another bad news comes from the House of Representatives again, as just Professor Lindsay just presented. There's during the recess period of the houses, when maybe the majority of the house members were abroad, without any public knowing, the House factions and the government approved a draft amendment of law on constitutional court. If it comes into law, it would be a serious threat to the court's independence and impartiality. Why? There is the reason why. There are three insignificant, I should say insignificant, probably say. There are three insignificant materials inserted into the draft. Firstly, draft 23A, which reads, let me read the draft. The tenure of the constitutional justice shall be 10 years. The first paragraph, second paragraph, the constitutional justice, as stated in paragraph 1, after 5 years in office, shall be obliged to send back to the institutions which has the authority to propose the constitutional justice concerned, whether she or he will be given approval to continue her or his tenure or not. The draft paragraph 3 reads as follows. A constitutional justice may continue her or his tenure in office for 10 years, as stated in paragraph 1, on conditions. A, still meets the qualification as stated in paragraph 15, in Article 15, paragraph 1 and 2. B, has not yet reached the age of 70 years. C, gets approval from the respective institution which has the authority to propose her or him. Paragraph 4, in case that the institution which has the authority to propose constitutional justice as stated in Article 18, paragraph 1, does not give its approval to the constitutional justice concerned to continue her or his tenure, the institutions which has the authority to propose constitutional justice shall submit a new constitutional justice in accordance with provision of Article 18 to Article 21. My comment is here. One substantial note may be addressed to the draft Article 23A above. If the intention of the lawmaker is to amend the existing provision of constitutional justice tenure, we know that the existing provision says that the constitutional justice tenure is 5 years and may be reappointed for the same tenure for one more time only. Then, with the existence of paragraph 1 of the draft articles, to me, according to me, the subsequent paragraph should never exist, since by maintaining the existence of paragraph 2, 3, and 4 will automatically make paragraph 1 meaningless. In other words, it means that substantially there is no difference between the draft article and the existing one. So what is the meaning of the draft paragraph 1, which says that paragraph 1 that says the tenure of the constitutional justice shall be 10 years. But the subsequent paragraph undermines the message laid down in the first paragraph. That's what is the biggest objection from my side as a lecturer. Here, but what is the political message lays behind the draft? I should say the crystal clear message is this: if you, constitutional justice, want to be reconfirmed to continue your tenure for 10 years, you should never dare to let the institution who proposes you down. Otherwise, you will be cut off once you reach your first 5 years in office. My apology to my words. This is a blatantly indecent instrument to make the court practically wrap around outside power's fingers. Dia sudah dibuat di bawah cengkraman, di bawah kontrol dari institusi luar. Itu kesimpulan saya. That's my conclusions to the draft articles. I think we have the same opinion with Professor. Let's see. Yeah. Second, Article 27A. Nggak enak sebenarnya saya membicarakan ini karena saya sedang berada di tempat itu sekarang ya. I'm in the positions of the chairman of the council, the honorary council. Article 27A was amended and the new formulation reads as follows. Paragraph 1, the Constitutional Court shall be obliged to compose Constitutional Justice Code of Ethics and Conducts, which consists of norms that must be adhered by every constitutional justice in conducting duty to maintain her or his irrepressible, just, and statesmanship, personality, and integrity. Paragraph 2, to uphold Constitutional Justice Code of Ethics and Conducts, as stated in paragraph 1, a Constitutional Court Honorary Council shall be established, which members consist of 1 constitutional justice, 1 who is proposed by the Constitutional Court, 1 who is proposed by the Supreme Court, 1 who is proposed by the House, and 1 who is proposed by the President. Paragraph 3, the membership as stated in paragraph 2 to E shall come from public preacher who has high integrity, comprehends law and constitution, and is not a member of any political party. 2, academics whose background is law, who has high integrity, is not a member of any political party, and is not an active member of the House of Representatives or regional representative councils. And paragraph 4 says, further provision concerning the Constitutional Court Honorary Council's composition, organization, and procedures of hearing shall be arranged by Constitutional Court regulation. Okay, I will take 5 minutes. Now, the objection to the draft is primarily centered on the paragraph 2 of the draft. The Constitutional Court Honorary Council composition. Many experts and activists so worry that such a composition will erode the council's independency. Constitutional and Administrative Law Society activists, just to name an example, in its open letter to the House and to the President says, among others, that such a composition was deemed to be part of external intervention to the court. For, according to Carls, the composition will narrow down the council's space to oversee the performance of the court's 9 justices, so as to make it easier to the institution, for the institution which has the authority to propose council's member to intervene with the council. And finally, the draft Article 87, transitional provision, which says as follows. By the time the law comes into force, A, the constitutional justice who has been in office for more than 5 years and less than 10 years, she or he may only continue his or her tenure counted from the date of the presidential decree on her or his appointment as a constitutional justice after having approval from the respective institutions which has the authority to propose the constitutional justice concerned. B, the constitutional justice who is still in office and her or his tenure has exceeded the period of 10 years, her or his tenure shall be ended at the age of 70 years, according to the law, counted from the date of the presidential decree on her or his appointment as a constitutional justice, after having approval from the respective institution which has the authority to propose the constitutional justice concerned. What is our comprehension to the draft article? According to me, the draft article has driven controversy and suspicion among experts. It is logical. It was only logical. Such a controversy happens when we read the whole message contained in the draft articles, because it shows another fatal contradictions among the law's provisions. Why? First, on one hand, we see, referring to Article 23A, the law wants to strictly limit the tenure of the Constitutional Court justice for only 10 years. But on the other hand, referring to the Article 87B, the law opens a chance to any constitutional justice to be in office for more than 10 years. Second, on one hand, referring again to Article 23A, paragraph 2 to 4, and Article 87A, the law seems to set strict conditions to any constitutional justice who has been in office for more than 5 years, if she or he wants to continue her or his tenure for 10 years. But on the other hand, referring to, again, Article 87B, the law seems to lose to constitutional justices whose years in office have even exceeded the period of 10 years. What a huge contradiction. To me, such a contradiction has unavoidably ignited strong objections and suspicion that the amendment was designed to oust certain constitutional justices who still manage to maintain their independence and integrity. Hence, it means that in the end, the amendment will put the court under the control of the outside powers. As conclusions of my presentations, it's only one conclusion. The one and the only conclusion that can be drawn from the above elaboration is that the proposed amendment of the law on the Constitutional Court, if it is successful to become law, it is a serious threat to the court's independence and at the same time to the rule of law. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bapak. Would you please to give a big applause? So, like Bapak Palguna mentions, it's quite in line with the presentation from Professor Lindsay. We do faces the threat for the independence of the courts. Because the limitations of the time, without further ado, I would like to invite Bapak Satya Yuda Jananjaya, PhD, to deliver the presentations. Time is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you for a chance given to me, Ibu Ayudhya, Ibu Dr. Ayudhya. You look gorgeous today. I'm sorry, Pak Budi. It will slightly different because my presentations today is about our research proposal that we have submitted and received funding from Inspire Unut. So I picked the title toward the applications of citizen lawsuits in Indonesia, what we can discern from Australian environmental law enforcement experience. So I want to inform you that about this research, that our team is embarking on a journey of discovery while we have yet to complete our research. So we have gained valuable insight into the conditions and regulations in Indonesia. And of course, our next step is to delve into the how Australia approaches citizen lawsuits concerning environmental laws. So the next slide, please. Before that one, the second slide. Okay, this is our research. No. The previous slide. The second slide. Yeah, the previous one. The second slide. Slide number, yes. Okay, this is our research team. I call it Dream Team, and also I know that our research teams, most of them are here. So Ibu Dr. Ayudia, also Ibu Profesor Supasti, Bapak Bima, Ibu Profesor Dewi Kasih, I'm sorry. Ibu Profesor Dewi Kasih, Ibu Dr. Suksma, and also Bapak Bima. So maybe I really need your insight to develop our research. So I also really glad to have Professor Simon Butt from Sydney University as our research partner. He is become our research partner around 2 months ago, and we have discussed many things. And he gave me a lot of material or supporting material for my research. So thank you for Sydney University, Professor Simon Butt. The next slide, please. Okay. As an introduction, our research is driven by the multitude of environmental challenges facing Indonesia, with a specific emphasis on the potential for citizen participation in law enforcement effort. It is rooted in belief that citizens possess a fundamental right, we call it constitutional right, to inhabit a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment, I mean. And of course, environmental protection become priority to maintain the sustainability of our living system. As I thought that some of Indonesian seems to be ignore environmental aspect in the entire development process. And maybe it is due to they don't know for sure whether regulation provide opportunities for them to protect the environment. And also environment as a development process may produce negative impact to the human beings. And on the other side, the Constitution protects citizen constitutional right, the right, of course, to be protected by the constitutions, and it is the responsibility by the state administrators to ensure the fulfillment of the constitutional right. It is also crucial to prioritize the proper fulfillment of constitutional right within the framework of the rule of law. And instances that the negligence or omissions by state administrators that result in the non-fulfillment of this right may necessitate citizens to seek legal action to secure their rights. And one recourse within the realm of law enforcement is the option to pursue a citizen lawsuit. However, due to, as we know that we have lack of legal certainty regarding the citizen lawsuit, maybe citizens feel like they have less opportunity to participate or to take a legal action when the environment destructions. And of course, the concept of citizen lawsuits originally, as we know, that come from a country who there's a common law system, especially in the USA, and the citizen lawsuits serve as an important tool for enforcing environmental law by providing avenues for legal actions, and as a result of negligence or omission, sebuah pembiaran dan kelalaian dari state administrators, and the citizen lawsuits mechanisms can be utilized for environmental problems that occur, such as damage, pollutions, climate change, natural resources, depletions, waste disposal, biodiversity loss, and also deforestation. And it is also differ with the ordinary civil lawsuit, which is known in Indonesia, gugatan acara biasa, I mean, small claim lawsuits, environmental organization lawsuits, and also class action due to the defendant and also the reason to file a lawsuit. Jadi ada perbedaan terkait dengan bagaimana citizen lawsuit itu diterapkan di Indonesia dengan gugatan acara biasa, kemudian small claim atau gugatan sederhana, gugatan dari organisasi, dan juga model class action karena dilihat dari tergugat, the defendant, and also alasan untuk mengajukan gugatan, reason to file lawsuits. So as I mentioned before, that the concept of citizen lawsuits originate from countries that they are the common law legal system. Its history shows that this type of lawsuits was first utilized in the United States. And over time, the concept of citizen lawsuit become widely adopted also in other common law countries such as Australia, and is proved effective in addressing environmental issues. So what will be interesting is to examine how Australia has determined regulations related to the concept and also the procedures, and how to implement them to solve environmental problem. This is quite different from Indonesian's legal system, Indonesian's justice system, where there have been environmental problem caused by omission and negligence, pembiaran dan kelalaian dari state administrators, from the state administrators. But few of the citizens who have made effort to enforce environmental law through citizen lawsuit mechanism will be conducted. This is partly because previously there is no a single regulations that comprehensively governs the concept and procedure of citizen lawsuits. In the past, there were numerous citizen lawsuits filed in the district court, while some district court also accepted these cases and the others rejected them. The reason for this varied acceptance is due to the judges' understanding of positivistics, because as we know that according to the positivistic, it is essential to organize and implement the concept of the rule of law in positive law. This is often leads judges to reject cases because of in concept, procedure, and civil justice system, they don't recognizing citizen lawsuits mechanisms. Okay, continue with the next slide. Yeah, in connection with what I explained before, then the Supreme Court captured by issuing regulations, and of course based on their attribution authority that they have, but however the regulation they are issued make this ambiguous and also unclear. So this is occur, no. The previous slide, please. Previous slide. Yeah. And this is occur in 2023 when the Supreme Court Regulation number 1 of 2023 was issued, providing guidelines for adjudicating environmental cases. And one of the article in the Supreme Court regulation is mentioned about citizen lawsuits to enforce the environmental law problem. But after the issuance of Supreme Court regulation, there are several legal issues. The first is before the regulations come into effect, the citizen lawsuits were submitted into the district court. But after the regulations come into effect, the citizen lawsuits related to environmental cases were submitted to the state administrative court. Jadi ada perbedaan ketika konsep citizen lawsuit diterapkan di Indonesia pertama kali, walaupun belum ada regulasi, diajukan gugatannya ke pengadilan negeri. Tapi sejak keluarnya Perma 1 2023 ini, konsep ini hanya khusus untuk permasalahan lingkungan hidup itu diajukan ke pengadilan tata usaha negara. So the second legal issues is when the case is brought before the state administrative court, it signifies a shifting in underlying concept. Typically, dispute involving state administration court commence with a decision, a decree from the official or administration body, jadi sebuah konsep yang diawali dengan adanya keputusan dari badan atau pejabat tata usaha negara sebagai as an object of the dispute. And as we know that the basis for filing a state administration's lawsuit is the adverse decision, the decree, the surat keputusan seperti itu, made by the state administration body or official, as it is negatively impact for the individual or legal entities. It is also following the principle of state administrative decision, which is final, individual, and specific. Jadi ada beberapa hal terkait dengan pengajuan gugatan ini yang perlu dicermati, bahwasanya ada prinsip terkait dengan surat keputusan yang bersifat final, individual, dan konkret seperti itu. And it is also found that the Supreme Court regulations specifies that the object of the dispute is an unlawful act committed by state official in the form of negligence and omissions. So this presents contradictions. I mean, there is a contradiction between the Administrative Procedural Act and Supreme Court regulations, because as the definitions of unlawful act in civil law differs from what unlawful act in the state administrative law. This is what I say that a contradiction in principle between the Supreme Court regulations in terms of the civil justice procedure and the act of state of administrative court procedures. And the third one is, in addition, about adjudicating a citizen lawsuit in Supreme Court regulations doesn't address the legal standing of the plaintiff, which has been a significant issues within the context of citizen lawsuit in Indonesia under the civil law system. This is due to the principle of point the interest, point the action, the adagium, the principle known in civil justice procedure, which allows anyone with a vested interest to initiate legal proceeding or legal actions. The absence of regulation concerning citizen lawsuit procedures highlight a constrained perspective on the right to bring a lawsuit within the civil justice system or administrative justice system. So, yeah, this slide. So what is the objective of this research? Of course, to confirm which court has the authority to examine the cases, whether this is a civil cases or state administrative cases. Second is, this research is important as it affects the legal system ability to provide citizens with a fundamental for their rights, especially related to the legal standing of the citizens. And the third is to analyze laws and regulations, court verdict, putusan pengadilan, and citizen lawsuit concept that have been enacted in other countries, especially the country who adheres a common law system. Next slide, slide number 5. Yeah. So what we want to find in this research projects as our research problem are how does the concept of citizen lawsuit functions in countries following the common law system, and how can it be applied in Indonesia considering a significance of citizen legal standing. The second problem is, can this concept be used to improve access to justice in Indonesia, and whether it can be used as an appropriate environmental law enforcement effort in Indonesian's justice system. And ladies and gentlemen, to end my presentations, I didn't make any conclusion actually, because our research still ongoing. We still collect the data, and also we have many discussion with our research partner. So I just want to say that we will gain, or we will make a novelty that we want to reach, whether the research result will produce conceptions and provide better insight regarding citizen lawsuit to be applied in Indonesia by, of course, by adopting what is enforced and implemented in Australia. And of course, then from our research, we will also try to find legislative products such as legislations or governmental regulations, or maybe Supreme Court regulations in Australia that can be transplanted into the form of statutory regulations in Indonesia. And of course, it is related with theory of legal transplant by Alan Watson, which of course is done by legal harmonizations to ensure that the variance in legal system for conducting transplant do not impact our legal system in Indonesia, especially our civil justice system, because it is very important to develop comprehensive concept and procedures who will facilitate the implementations of measures aimed to upholding environmental laws fairly and justice system fairness. Maybe that's all my presentations. I apologize that maybe after these presentations, I will have another agenda. If professor or participant here who have insight and also input for our research, you can deliver that insight or input to our team. There is Ibu Dr. Ayudia will note the insight, and of course the other research team. Maybe that's all, Professor Tim, Pak Dr. Palguna, Bapak Sigit, and also participant here. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. Thank you so much. Om Santi, 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 Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bapak Satya Yuda Jananjaya. And now you can just continue the agenda. I do hope that you can come back and join us for the second round. Okay. I will continue directly to our fourth speaker, Bapak Gusti Ngurah Parikesit Widya Teja SHM Hum LLM PhD. I can remember it all, is that correct? Okay, time is yours, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. All distinguished speakers, participants, both online and offline. I am here to represent our team, Inspire team, that is proposing a research collaboration between Melbourne University and Faculty of Law, Udayana University. And in this occasion, our topic of research is about imposing criminal sanction for public official in special planning law in Indonesia. So at the end, I will relate this thought about how imposing criminal sanction impartially is a reflection of rule of law as well. So this is the member of our team, and we have had discussion before. We visited Melbourne Law School last year, and then continue this year for the next project, and in the next September, we are going as well to go to Melbourne to intensify not just this research, but also the possible research and cooperation between Faculty of Law and Melbourne Law School. Thank you so much for my beloved former supervisor, Prof. Tim Lindsay, who will facilitate and initiate such great cooperation between us. And Okay, sorry for technical issues. For the next slide, this about the introduction. And as you may understand that the control of spatial plan is crucial for optimizing the utilization of scarce spatial resources, because spatial plan maintain the balance between industrial growth and also the availability of natural resources. Yeah, spatial plan will balance development not just for economic benefit, but also for social, cultural, and most importantly, environmental perspective. Indonesia has had spatial planning law in 2007, and one of the formulation of those provisions explaining about criminal sanction. It is stated that public official who issue permit in violation of the plan would face criminal sanction, including dishonorable dismissal. And it then strengthened through the existence of law number 6, 2023, that regulate about job creation. Basically, why criminal sanction should be applied as well for the government official? Because basically, when the government, both executive, legislative, and educative, just for enforce the regulation, when the government draft and implement the law, and when the people or the society or maybe the investor make a mistake, there is a punishment. So there is a trend recently, or not just recently, maybe in the last 10 decades, 1 decade, I'm sorry, if the government wants to create infrastructure project and the project itself violate the existing spatial planning, the way to make project continuous and to legalize that project is by modifying or revising the spatial plan. So it's mean that when the people, when the society make a mistake, they will be punished. But when the government are doing something wrong, then they just modify or revise or change the law to make something illegal become legal. There is a trend about that. Yeah, before we talk about what was happening in Constitutional Court, about the changing the minimum number for participation in the election, and then in spatial planning, that trend, we call it a planning gain. The trend to modify, to revise existing spatial plan to allow commercial project to continue is becoming trend. That's why the government try to impose criminal sanction, especially for the public official, when they issue spatial planning permit contradictive with the existing spatial plan. But in reality, in reality, this type of sanction has never been existed. And the problem in our, in the next slide, is about analyzing why the current criminal sanction for public officials are ineffective. And the second one, we try to formulate a criminal sanction for public official, particularly in special planning law. There are four discussion in our research. In the next slide, the first we talk about the interplay between special planning regulation and criminal sanction. The second, as a part of comparative study, we have had any comparative discussion about how criminal sanction for public official have been applied in other jurisdiction. The third, we start by analyzing why criminal sanction for public official have never been imposed. And finally, imposing criminal sanction for public official in special planning law is our last discussion. So for answering the first discussion, in the next slide, the interplay between special planning regulation and criminal sanction, it is widely acceptable that the goal of special planning rule, in the next slide, please. The goal of special planning rule is to harmonize the numerous relevant social economic needs and objective to the balance competing policy goals. That's why to balance that policy goal, we need to apply or to implement criminal law in order to answer the aforementioned aims. And then there are some, I note some court decision explaining about the criminal penalties under SPL or Special Planning Law 2007. There are 3 cases when the lay people have break the rules, then there are a court decision explaining the sanction, especially the criminal sanction, but not yet for the public official. In the next slide, we are entering the comparative study, and there are at least 4 countries have regulated about the imposition of criminal sanction. I'm not going to explain all. In Brazil, for example, in Article 69 in Lei de Crimes Ambientales, it is stated that everyone, including public official, is prohibited to authorize or to carry out works or activity in preservation area without the corresponding authorization, when this is required by law. Imprisonment 1 to 3 years and fine are the legal consequences for any violation of this rule. This is also applied in Colombia, in India, and in Italy. So basically, those countries have mentioned and implemented criminal sanction for public official who issue special planning permit, contradictive with the special plan. So in the next slide, we are still identifying, because this research has not been completed yet, and there's some reason why criminal sanction for public official have never been imposed. Yeah. The first reason is about, as I mentioned earlier, there is a trend that the central government changed the special plan by presidential regulation or ministerial level decree to support permit issued by governor or mayor that stray from or even violate the plan. Maybe all participants still remember what was happening in Benoit Bay reclamation project. Benoit Bay was classified as conservation. Conservation meaning that no commercial project, no economic benefit on that area, but the government then in the next year, in 2015, issue a new regulation that reclassified Benoit Bay no longer as a conservation, but as a utilization, meaning that some part of Benoit Bay can be built with a commercial project. And this trend also happened in the subsequent project, especially in Indonesia. The second reason is about the absence of detailed plan, because we have special plan, we have general special plan, but general special plan must be supported by detailed special plan. But when the detailed special plan is not available, then there is a challenge to classify any violation as criminal sanction, to impose criminal sanction when the proof, when the evidence is not strong enough. And the third one, why special planning law is not used, because usually the anti-corruption law will apply, because there is a trend that the head of regional leader issue the special planning permit, and then the anti-corruption law will apply instead of special planning. And this is again because the project is not yet completed. How to impose criminal sanction properly, especially for public official? The first possibility is to utilize digital map, because currently the government established digital map. There is a requirement for every region to create detailed spatial plan in the form of digital. So when everything is digitalized, digital map, for example, it is very hard to modify. If they try to modify, or they did it, there is like a tracing back, because we have like a digital forensic trace. So if someone try to manipulate this kind of map, then it can be proven. And the second one is about the issuance of implementing regulation to impose criminal sanction. Again, because the hierarchical structure, every general rule in Indonesia should be followed, should be implemented by implementing regulation. Then we have to start implementing regulation about this sanction. Okay, I think that's all my presentation, and I try to quote the Montesquieu when he said that when the lawmaking and law enforcement power are united in the same person, there can be no liberty. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Bapak Parikesit. So we already had opportunity to hear the presentations from Bapak Satya Yuda Danajaya PhD and also Bapak Ngurah Parikesit PhD, because this seminar also combined with two projects related to Inspire and the Faculty of Law, Udayana University. So after the discussions of the rule of law, and then we discussed about the proposal that both of the research teams works on it right now. I will kindly say hello first to Bapak Andi Omara. Can we see Bapak Andi Omara on the screen?
Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear your voice clearly, Bapak. How are you, Pak? I do hope that you are fine.
I'm good, Ibu. Prof.
Okay.
Apa kabar, Prof? Prof.
Kabar baik,
Waguna,
kabar baik. Terima kasih.
Beli Sigit, dan Bapak Ibu sekalian, mohon maaf ini tidak bisa hadir secara langsung ke Bali.
Terima kasih banyak waktunya Bapak berkenan bergabung bersama kami. Jadi mohon maklum juga ada perubahan schedule sedikit, jadi Bapak bukan the last, tapi yang the best. We will keep the best for the last, is that correct? Baik, Bapak Andi Omara will present about the rule of law under Jokowi administrations and its possible impact to the next administrations. Am I correct? That's your presentations for today, Bapak?
Right, yes.
Yes, okay. So time is yours. I will give around 15 or 20 minutes to deliver the presentations before we continue with the question and answer session. Time is yours.
Thank you very much, Ibu. First of all, of course, I apologize because I cannot attend physically in beautiful island of Bali, but we thought I will try my best to present my PPTs. So I'm questioning how actually the current administrations will impact the next administrations. And when we look at the second and third slide of my presentations, you can see how actually the rule of law in Indonesia is actually what they call it, in the middle. If you check report from this project, World Justice Project, it's 0.53 since 2015 to 2023. And when we look at the current trend, it's not yet published, 2024. I'm guessing that the index of rule of law will decrease. So when we check the report from, or the survey from World Justice Project, and then we look at what's happening in Indonesia today, we can see that we are now moving, how can we call Indonesia today as nations in transitions? So why I use quote in transitions? Because the transitions here is different or significantly different from the transitions when we are in Reformasi era. When we are in Reformasi era in 1999, we have moving from authoritarian to an emerging democracy. But on the other hand, after around 2 decades, we enjoy emerging democracy. It seems that we have moving to different directions. That's why when you check my fourth slide, you can see that I propose 4 different tendencies. The first, the transitions here is actually whether we are moving from emerging democracy to regressions to democracy. That would be the first one. The second one, whether we are moving from constitutionalism to abusive constitutionalism. And then the third, are we now moving from rule of law to rule by law? And finally, whether we are now moving from judicialization of politics to politicizations of the judiciary. If we look at the first point, are we now moving from an emerging democracy to regression to democracy? I think like Professor Tim Lindsay said, Professor Paguna also mentions, that I also indicate several indicators that we are now moving from emerging democracy to regression to democracy. The first is actually the plan to amend the broadcasting law, Undang-Undang Penyiaran, where it prohibits investigative report. And then second, there is also an indications, or at least a rumor, to shift from direct elections to indirect elections. And we are also experiencing how actually the public participation is ignored in the process, in lawmaking process. And finally, we also witness how actually some state officials tend to ignore ethics. And then moving to the second point, are we now moving from constitutionalism to abusive constitutionalism? I'm trying to look at this by plan. I think several years ago, we see the plan proposed by some of the politicians saying that we are now in need to amend our constitution, to amend our existing constitutions. But the substance of such amendment seems to be not limiting the power of, the power of the state institutions or the power of state official, but instead it's providing or accumulating more power to them. And then there is also an indications, like I mentioned, how actually we are now in the discussions whether it is important to have direct elections or we moving to indirect elections. And then I think we also witness how actually the plan to have third period of president is also rise in 2 or 3 years ago. And then my third point is actually, are we now moving from rule of law to rule by law? I think conceptually, our constitutions provide a feature of the rule of law. But somehow in practice, we can witness that rule of law provided by constitutions can be manipulated in practice under what we call the legal product. So when we are talking about the rule of law, for example, the law is actually a tool to limit government's power on the one hand and protect the human rights. And this actually will, in the end of the day, it will provide the government legitimacy. But rule by law, on the other hand, law is a tool to expand government power, and on the other hand, it will also limit human rights. And then I will move on the next point. Are we now moving from judicialization of politics to the politicians of the judiciary? I think Professor Tim Lindsay, Professor Palguna, and I agree how actually in recent year we witness how the politicizations of the judiciary is apparent, how actually the Aswanto case happening, and then how the law on MK also revised for the sake of maintaining the power of the government or limiting the power of the constitutional court, and how actually the DPR, through its constitutional power, then tried to shrinking or to limit the power of the constitutional court. So when we are looking at these 4 different points, you can see that now we are, in my opinion, we are a state in transitions, in the sense that we are not moving from emerging to a democratic country, but we are moving from emerging democracy to regression democracy. And then the questions that I pose in my 4th point, the first, the second, the third, the 4th points, I think, in my opinion, is now happening in Indonesia. And I'm quite worried how actually the next government will continue its administrations from Jokowi to Prabowo. My worry based on, first, I think the elect president says that his administration will continue Jokowi's policies. It will worry us if it includes continuing Jokowi's approach toward democracy, freedom of expressions, and KKN. And then secondly, the tendency to invite more political parties to join the government. I think this also will likely to weaken the check and balance mechanism. And then finally, I myself and we hope that the elect president will take different approach toward democracy and human rights against the current government policy. I think that is my observations from what I saw in Jokowi's administrations and what will be the implications for next administrations. I think for now, I will end my presentations. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present my PPT. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would you please to give big applause for Bapak Andi Omara. Terima kasih banyak Bapak sudah bergabung. Terima kasih juga sudah menyajikan very interesting thought and reasons for us to give a slides of understanding that now there is like you mentioned the emerging democracy to regressions of the democracy and other points concerning also about the several issues related to the rule of law itself. Thank you very much once again, Bapak. We do hope that we still have an opportunity to have you for the questions and answer session. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay, so once again, thank you very much for all the speakers. Please allow me to now move to the questions and answer session for the discussion sessions. We have the participants who attend here online and also offline. So for the first chance, I will give to the participants who are coming here at the Prama Sanur Bali and now here with us. Would you please to raise your hand, mention your name, and you can deliver the questions to the speakers. You can also do it both. You can deliver it in Bahasa also. We have one participant. We have two. I will deliver I will give an opportunity for the first and the second participants, and then I will move to the online question.
Okay, thank you so much for amazing presentation. I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Kadekri Yaputra. You can call me Ray. I'm from undergraduate law student at Udayana University. And my question is for Prof. Tim and Mr. Fal. The first question is, will the next grand coalition of governments threaten law enforcement in Indonesia? Because there have been several things that have changed the law to adjust the need of coalition. And the second question, how to ensure that the laws produced in the future are for benefit for people, not for interest group? That's the question. Thank you so much.
Would you please to repeat the first question?
Okay, the first question is, will the next grand coalition of government threaten laws enforcement in Indonesia? Because there have been several things that have changed the law to adjust to the needs of coalition. Did you get it?
Yes, please, Professor Lindsay. Will you, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for your question about coalitions. Everybody always takes the view that everything that is that better? Yeah, everybody seems to take the view that the president is the most powerful political force in the country, but that's not true constitutionally. Constitutionally, it's the DPR that is by far the most powerful political organ in the country, constitutionally speaking. The president matters, but the president is not the most powerful entity by law. However, if the president can gain control of the DPR, then he is an almost unstoppable force. The president who controls the DPR is effectively able to act almost like a dictator. Because if the president controls an overwhelming majority in the DPR, then the only controls on his power, really, in fact, the only control on his power is the Mahkamah Konstitusi, because it is the only body that can review and check the laws that it produces. So that means coalitions are the key to political power in Indonesia. If you have a coalition that dominates the DPR, then there's almost no restraint on your power if you control that coalition. So it's often said that a strong opposition is the key to democracy in a liberal democratic system. And if you have a very small minority opposition and a very large coalition, then you really have no opposition because it cannot stop a vote. And therefore, logically, you don't really have a democratic system. It follows. So I think what's happening now is that there are efforts being made by the current president to the incoming president Prabowo to create a coalition with Jokowi's support that will be as effective as the coalition under President Jokowi. We don't know whether he will succeed, but I guess he will probably get a very large coalition that will give him a strong majority. And if that's the case, where is the opposition? What is the alternative voice to the government? What checks and balances can exist? The answer is only the MK. And if the MK is undermined by the amendments that Bapak Palguna and I have described, then there is no check and balance. If there's no check and balance, then again, you don't have a democracy. The definition of a democracy is that the power of government is checked and balanced by oppositions or by the judiciary. And if you remove the political opposition and the judicial opposition, or at least the judicial monitoring and checking agency, then you don't actually have what you could call a democracy. What you have is elections. And that is an electoral democracy or a procedural democracy, but it's not a functioning liberal democracy anymore. People think that democracy means elections. Elections are just one small part of a democratic system. They are not enough on their own to make a real democracy. You can have elections in authoritarian systems as well. The essence of a democracy is three things: separation of powers. No opposition, no court, no separation of powers. Secondly, respect for rights. No judicial independence means no respect for rights. That'll probably do for that answer. Thank you. And the other question was, how do you ensure that the law will be good and for the benefit of the people in the next administration? Well, if we knew how to make sure that laws benefit the people, we wouldn't have any problems, would we? If someone could tell me how to do that, I'd like to know. But the jawaban singkat is, if you want laws that are effective and help the people, then you need a functioning independent judiciary that is transparent, not corrupt, not influenced by the other branches of government, and able to act independently as a check and balance. If you don't have that, then your laws will not benefit the people, and that is clear from history.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. I think now we can hear the answer or the opinion from Bapak Palguna.
Yes, thank you very much. I think, frankly speaking, it is a hard question, but theoretically, if you want the coalition perform well, it must be a kind of balance from the oppositions. Unfortunately, we never, if we can say honestly, we have never had a good opposition in the country to make the balance between the ruling elites and the opposition. So it depends whether in the future Pak Prabowo and his team, again, I would like to emphasize what Professor Lindsay says, that it depends whether Pak Prabowo and its team in the future would dominate the house or not. Once he dominates the house, I think the fate of democracy we had already seen from now on that it's very bleak, I think, yeah. And the second question, how to make, maybe theoretically we can say that that's why we know well that any law is a legal political document, yeah. But I would like to say, and to confirm you as a student, that that's why we need a strong civil society, and that's why we need an independent intellectuals, and especially we need an independent judiciary. But when this judiciary, as I presented in my presentations, was or is under a real attack from the outside powers, I think we already lost our hope in rule of law as well as in democracy. I think that's my answer.
My answer. I strongly agree with you, and I strongly agree about civil society as well. And if there's no opposition in the DPR, then the opposition must come from civil society because there's nowhere else. And opposition is not a bad thing. A liberal democracy needs an opposition. And that's why in the British system, the opposition parties are called His Majesty's Loyal Opposition. So that it's not that they are against government or the state. They are simply the loyal opposition as part of the state because it's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lindsay. Because Bapak Andi also discussed about quite similar things, would you like to add or deliver your opinions about the questions from Kade, Bapak? It's still mute, Bapak?
So I think I don't have different answer regarding when the two, when the two important branches of government actually have similar opinion regarding things. In these situations, we cannot hope that we will have a full-fledged democracy. And it can be added if the judiciary is also limited in many ways, not only in terms of the nominations, but it also in terms of the operation, the authority. I don't have any additional answer to the questions. I think I agree with the two speakers before me.
Thank you very much, Bapak Andi. So those three speakers have a quite similar opinions about the question. Is that clear enough, or yeah, is you satisfied with the answer? Yes. Okay. Before we continue with the second, I would like to give an opportunity for the participant online, and then I will deliver it to you. Okay. So this one is for Professor Lindsay from Gita Dinar. The question is based on those four elements. I assume it's look like a weakness or sins that had been hidden in this country for a long time. In your opinion, how can all these elements be corrected simultaneously or should be corrected gradually with the risk could be forever of time? Thank you. Dinar, Gita Dinar.
I identified four elements that were unsur kunci for the new order. And there are other elements as well in the new order, not just that. I could have spoken about nepotism and dynasties, but I thought I better not. So I did identify just four that I chose. And then I showed you that those four elements could be reintroduced now if the DPR passes the amendments proposed and if the Mahkamah Agung upholds the decision in the recent Ghazal Saleh case. Now, in other words, whether these four elements are reintroduced depends heavily on decisions by lawmakers in the DPR. So the only way to stop it happening is to influence the lawmakers in the DPR, really. And that means who could influence politicians in the DPR? Well, the political party leaders can, but they're the ones who are doing this. Civil society can through protests. The media can through criticism. The academic world can by talking about it like we are today. But I think that the coalition that dominates the DPR is so strong that it'll be very hard to stop these amendments going through. The only way it can be stopped is through activists, protests, criticism, media, because if they don't, the cost will be the freedom of the media, the freedom of civil society itself. So there's more at stake than just amendments to these laws. It's actually the freedom of civil society. So I would say civil society needs to act now, because if it doesn't, it won't be able to act.
I hope Gita Dinar is already satisfied with the answer from Professor Lindsay. I will give an opportunity for our participants that already raised her hand. Yang di sebelah sana, Pak Man. Ya. Okay, thank you for the time and opportunity. Before of that, my name is Maharani from a student of Notary Faculty of Law, Udayana University. I'd like to ask about this topic of this seminar because it really interesting me. And also, first question is specifically for Bapak Dr. Dewa Gede Palguna SHM Hum. The question is, as we know that the Supreme Court recently issued a decision regarding the age limit for nomination for governor and deputy governor. These issues, of course, creates a contradiction in society, and it makes reconnected to the existence of Mr. Jokowi's dynastic politics. So the question is, what is the basic and the purpose of the policy decision of the Supreme Court? And the second question is for Bapak Andi Omara. As you explained before, there are several indications of restriction on expression, one of which is press freedom in the broadcasting law. Under this condition, it can be suspected and indicated that the Trias Politica is controlled by groups with the same interests. So the question is, how can we ensure from academic perspective that the checks and balance of the Trias Politica, which is legislative, executive, and judicial system, can rule well in the future? Okay, thank you. Would you please to repeat the first questions, the questions itself, just to make sure? Okay, for the first question, as we know that the Supreme Court recently issued a decision regarding about the age limit for nomination for governor and deputy governor. So my question is, what is the basic and purpose of the policy decision of that Supreme Court, Bapak? Thank you.
Yes, I think you already know the answer. Yeah, the message is crystal clear. Yeah, because by handing out such a decision or such a verdict, I think it is not a matter of law. It is a matter of politics. Yeah. So you can see what this, I'm sorry to say, what is the evil behind the consideration of such a decision? It is, of course, maybe anybody smells something fishy behind the consideration of the Supreme Court. That's why MK now it's called Mahkamah Kakak and MI it's called Mahkamah Adik. That's the reasons why. So I think it's already clear and that the message of the decision of the court is how to make, the president other sons, the president other sons, yeah, can take part in the local election, especially for the governor and vice governor. That's the reason of the Mahkamah Adik, I said. I think, yeah. But if you want another deep explanation from your question is maybe you need not to corner the issue only from legal perspective. Yeah, you must see from a wider perspective, even maybe from the wildest one. So we can see what is it? We can see the real reason behind the court's decision. But I'm pretty sure that the real reason is politics, not law. Thank you.
tambahan. Singkat. Reformasi, jatuhnya Soeharto merupakan suatu revolusi. Dalam bentuk konstitusionalisme dan hukum, tapi juga bisa terjadi counter revolution. Dan yang sekarang terjadi boleh dikatakan counter revolution. Sorry, wrong language. Counter revolution, but a revolution doesn't necessarily involve guns and fighting. Revolutions can be done in a quiet, creeping fashion, slowly, bit by bit, like dripping water, wearing away rock. And what we're seeing now, if Reformasi was the revolution, what we're seeing now is a creeping, drip by drip, counter-revolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will give an opportunity to Bapak Andi Omara to answer the questions that point to Bapak.
Yeah. Could you please repeat the questions that directed to me? Is it the same questions that Professor Lindsay and Professor Paguna, or I have different questions?
This is a different questions. I think you better to repeat it once again. Otherwise, I'm also have a different note because it's not a bit clearly. Bapak, Pak Man, nas tulung mikrofonnya malih, just to make sure that I will not make wrong notes about the questions. Only for a question for Bapak Andi Omara.
The question for Bapak Andi Omara is, as you explained before, there are several indications of restriction on expression, one of which is press freedom in the broadcasting law. Under these conditions, it can be suspected and indicated that the trias politica is controlled by groups with the same interests. The question is, how can we ensure, from academic perspective, that the checks and balance of the trias politica, which legislative, executive, and judicial system can run well in the future?
Is that clear, Bapak?
Yes, it is crystal clear. Okay, thank you very much for the questions. And for me, I think to make an effective check and balances mechanisms, we cannot then say that there shouldn't be one branch of government control other branch of government, specifically when we are talking about judiciary. But even if when we are talking about government and the parliament, it shouldn't be controlled by one of each. It means if they can really what we call operating their constitutional mandate, the parliament scrutinize what actually has been done by the government on the one hand, and the judicial institution can also check and balance the product of the legislative, the product of the president and the DPR, then it would be the way how we make an effective check and balances mechanism. But the thing is, our political system sometimes what we call try to make things easier by inviting as many political parties as they can to join the government. With these situations, it is unlikely that we will build an effective check and balances mechanism. So I think we should then looking at how actually we design our not only political system, but how we also look at the general election system. By having this, what we call improvement on these two important systems, then hopefully we will make our check and balances system more effectively in the future. I think that would be one of the way we can do or not in the future to make the check and balances system more sustainable and effective in implementing in Indonesia. I think that would be my response. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bapak Andi Omara. So, ladies and gentlemen, all the participants, because I'm only like doing the task from the committee, and the head of the committee informed me that we have to finish this question and answer sessions. So before the closing of this session, I would like to invite to all the speakers to deliver closing statement, like a short closing statement to end this sessions. I will start from Professor Lindsay and then continue with Bapak Palguna, Bapak Andi Omara, and then the last but not least, I will choose Pak Sigit as the last person for this session.
I think that Indonesia is at a critical historical moment that in the future people will look back at as a decisive moment when Indonesia's future was decided. And that decisive moment doesn't start when Pak Prabowo is sworn in, but it is actually happening now, because many of the changes that people are concerned about are already underway now. The outcome of these proposed legislative changes will be critically important. So whether they are passed and what is done to prevent them being passed will determine Indonesia's future for many years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for Bapak Palguna?
Oh, well, thank you. I think now we are in a critical condition. Yes, like just like what Professor said, that we are in a kind of turning point to what we call a creeping counter-revolution in connection with the reform movement in 1999. But I think as an academicians, as an intellectuals, we should never lose our hope. Let's stick with our guns and stick to the gun that we are intellectuals, we are academics. So we will never surrender our hope to any situations that might be so threatening, even in the very worst conditions, just like what is about to happen, maybe beginning from today. And when we see the political situations in connection with our field of study, law, there is, like just Professor Lindsay says, the amendment of law on TNE, law on the, as Andi Omara says, law on broadcasting, law on constitutional court, and even law on Kementerian, ministry. It's all, we have no guarantee whether we still have the courage to say that the spirit of reform movement is still with us today. But again, we should never lose our hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bapak Palguna, and I will give the opportunity for Bapak Andi Omara for the closing statement.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. What I want to say for the closing is actually the fourth indicator that I mentioned in my presentations. Hopefully, will end soon and will have a new situations, a better one, with the mark of the sworn of the elect presidents. But my hope, of course, will be only hope if we are not stick together. How actually we as the holder of the sovereign, then speak up what actually our constitution said about our nations and how we should govern our nations. And for that reasons, I think if all the branches of government actually cannot be what we call trust by the people, then it's like the beginning of the ending. So hopefully we are a people that are empowered and we can speak up what we believe, and we of course will have hope that the government will improve their performance and looking at how actually the people wants. I think that would be my conclusions for this event. Thank you.
Thank you. Terima kasih, Bapak. And now we will hear the closing statement from Bapak Parikesit. Time is yours.
Thank you. Actually, I don't have any closing statement, but to reduce the tension and our worry, I have one pantun. From Arnold Schwarzenegger to Bradley Cooper, from city of Manchester to suburb in Denver. Please always remember and never be surrender. Rule of law forever, Indonesia will fly better.
Thank you very much for the pantun, Bapak. So it's a very interesting insight from all the our 5 speakers for today. I'm also, because Bapak Sigit said like he will not make any aspect of life, and also that's very important to make sure that our role in society also can take part to guarantee how will be the rules of law will be one of the answer to make sure that Indonesia will be baik-baik saja. Okay, thank you very much. That's the end of this very wonderful and great sessions. Once again, I will say thank you very much for Professor Lindsay, Bapak Palguna, Bapak Andi Omara, Pak Sigit, and also Bapak Satya Yuda. And also for all the participants who kindly join us in the sessions, and for all the committee that work hard to proceed these sessions. I will deliver it back to our beautiful MC. Time, Ibu Aras.
Thank you, Ibu Dr. Ayu. Well, for the invited speakers and moderator to please remain at the stage, because we would like to invite all speakers and then also Ibu Dr. Ayu to please come to the center of the stage. Yeah, in front of the table for the delivery of certificate and token of appreciation. Therefore, we would like to invite our Vice Dean 1, Ibu Dr. Gung Masruwe, serta Vice Dean 3, Bapak Dr. Bagi, accompanied by Committee Chairman, Ibu Dr. Suksma, to the stage to deliver the certificate and token of appreciation. Thank you. Also, we would like to inform that the certificate for Bapak Andi is as presented on your screen. Thank you, Bapak Andi. And now for the photo session, we would like to call Ibu Dr. Sagung Putri M.E. Purwani to also please join them at the stage. Thank you. We would like to also invite Profesor Subawa to please come to the stage for the photo session. Kepada Prof, mohon berkenan untuk ikut ke atas panggung. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Once more, 1, 2, 3. For another photo session, we would like to invite Bapak Bapak Budi Arsika to please come to the stage. Okay, I will count. 1, 2, 3. Once more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for all of the invited speakers, Vice Dean, Prof. Subawa, Pak Budi, Ibu Sagung, you may please be seated. Well, ladies and gentlemen, finally we arrived at the end of the first session of this international seminar. We would like to say thank you for all your participation, especially for those who joining us online. For online participants, the link for your presence and certificate will be presented on your screen by our committee. Please fill it. And we would like to say thank you and see you again in the next occasion. Sekali lagi kepada hadirin yang telah bergabung bersama kami secara online, link absensi dan juga sertifikat adalah sebagaimana tertampil di layar Bapak Ibu sekalian. Terima kasih kami sampaikan dan mohon maaf apabila ada kekurangan selama penyelenggaraan acara internasional seminar ini. Baik, sekarang saya akan beralih kepada offline participants atau partisipan yang telah bergabung bersama kami secara langsung di Hotel Prama. Ada beberapa pengumuman yang akan saya berikan, mohon perhatiannya Bapak Ibu. Pengumuman pertama adalah kita sudah berada di penghujung sesi pertama. Selanjutnya tanpa mengurangi arti, kami mempersilahkan kepada mahasiswa yang tidak melanjutkan sebagai pembicara pada sesi kedua dan ketiga, yaitu call for papers, untuk dapat beraktivitas kembali melanjutkan kegiatannya di kampus untuk mengikuti perkuliahan seperti biasa. Dan untuk sertifikat dapat diperoleh di meja registrasi. Untuk itu kami persilahkan untuk mengambil sertifikatnya. Kemudian pengumuman berikutnya kepada undangan lainnya dan peserta call for papers untuk sesi panel dan 2, kami umumkan sesi panel yang kedua itu akan dimulai pada pukul 13.45. Kami mohon perhatiannya nanti sebelum kita akan lanjut ke sesi lunch, kita akan berfoto bersama terlebih dahulu dengan backdrop yang ada di ruangan ini. Jadi untuk sesi panel kedua dan ketiga, ruang ballroom yang ada di saat ini kita pergunakan itu adalah ruang 1. Sekali lagi saya informasikan, ruang ini adalah ruang 1. Sedangkan untuk ruang di balik ruang ini ya, yang berada di belakang ruangan ini adalah ruang 2. Jadi untuk panelis pada sesi kedua dan ketiga, silakan diperhatikan ruang ini adalah ruang 1 dan ruang di sebelah adalah ruang 3. Akses pintu masuknya nanti dari depan. Saya akan izin bacakan nama dari masing-masing peserta yang ada di tiap panel. Untuk kemudian ketika saya panggil silahkan maju karena kita akan berfoto per masing-masing ruang. Saya akan bacakan ya Bapak Ibu. Untuk